Hey friends, it's Mrs. Walker. For our lesson today, we're going to talk about collecting data in a table, and then we're going to record that in a tally table. So our learning goals for today, we have two. The first one says, I can collect and record measurement data in a table. We're going to use tallies to help us with that. And then the other one is, I can answer questions about data I've collected. Because friends, collecting data is very important. But being able to answer questions and talk about the data that you've collected is even more important. Because if we don't understand the data that we're looking at, it doesn't really help us to be able to talk about it. So we have to understand what we're collecting to be able to answer questions about it. So we're going to practice both of those things today. So your learning goal, or I'm sorry, your materials that you'll need for today's lesson are a ruler and the recording sheet. Now, your recording sheet, there's two of them, is actually in your math book. If you don't have access to your math book, I'll share pictures during the lesson. Okay, so don't worry. You might just have to draw a couple things on a piece of paper. So if you don't have your recording sheet, you need to grab some paper too. All right, so make sure you grab those things before we get started. All right, so friends, today we're going to collect some data. So I want you to hold up your hand like you're giving a high five. Stretch your fingers all the way out like this. And if you want, you can give me a high five on the screen. I would love it. High five. So how many inches do you think it is from the tip of your pinky to the tip of your thumb? So we're looking at this distance right here. Maybe like a couple inches, right? You might guess that. So this measurement from the tip of our pinky to the tip of our thumb is called our hand span. And that's what we're going to be measuring today. We're going to be collecting data on that. So what are some important things to remember when I measure my hand? So think back to when we're measuring things. What are some important things that we need to think about? Well, we have to start measuring at 0 on the ruler, right? That's the easiest way to do it. However, we did learn in previous lessons that we could start at other numbers. But the easiest way when you're measuring something small like your hand, start at 0. Another thing is remember what unit you are using. Okay, so we're going to be working in inches today. So you don't want to be measuring in centimeters. That would not be very helpful to us to find out how many inches your hand span is. And then you have to remember where your hand span is, and that stretches from your tip of your pinky to the tip of your thumb. All right, so now I'm going to measure my hand. There's my hand. I grabbed my ruler. I want to measure my hand span. Okay, so what is the length of my hand span? Yeah, well, it goes just past that 5, right? So we learned in previous lessons when it's just past, we say about 5 inches. Okay, because it's pretty close to the 5. So we're going to say about 5 inches. So let's look at our recording sheet. So if you have it, you can take it out. If you don't have it, look, ta-da, it's right here for you. Okay, so I'm going to put in my hand span because it says write your teacher's hand span measurement right here. So pause the video, write in 5, and then remember, IN stands for inches. So write in that and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, so what I want you to do is I want you to find at least 4 other people to measure their hand span. And then you're going to record it on the recording sheet. Okay? So you would write their name and their hand span. Okay? So you don't have to do that right now, though. I would keep watching the video, but I would go back to this part afterwards. All right, so let's take a look at the data you've collected and fill in the table. We can use a tally mark to record each person's measurement. So because we're not all together, I came up with a list of data for us to look at. Okay, so I have my hand span, and then I have Ainsley's hand span is 4 inches, Adeline's is 3 inches, Allie's is 4 inches, Duncan's is 4 inches, Sean's is 4 inches, and Nikki's is 4 inches. That's the hand span for those people. Okay, so we're going to take that data and pretend that that's what we just collected in the previous part. Okay, and we're going to now use a tally. We can use a tally mark to record each person's measurement. So the way that you do that is we're going to go one person at a time. So Mrs. Walker, that's me. My hand span was 5 inches. So I draw one little line like that. Then we're going to go to the next person, which was Ainsley, and hers was 4 inches. So she gets a little tally mark too. Adeline's was 3 inches, so she gets a tally mark under 3 inches. Then we move to Allie, which was 4 inches. So there's another one next to that one. You want to leave a space so you can be able to see the space in between. Otherwise, it'll be much harder to be able to see those tally marks later. Okay, so now we move on to Duncan, which was 4 inches. We move to Sean, which was 4 inches. And Nikki was also 4 inches. Now, instead of drawing another line next to that one, we're up to 4. So when we get past 4, we make this line that goes diagonally across like that. And that represents 5. So we went straight for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 turns into diagonal. If we were to keep going, we would be at 5, 6 is straight, 7 is straight, 8 is straight, 9 is straight, 10 is diagonal. Okay, because when you get to those groups of 10 or groups of 5, they become a diagonal line again. Because then when we get numbers, data that could be larger than this, it's much easier to look at that number right there and see that I have 5 because I know that hashtag or that hash mark that goes diagonally represents 5 instead of having to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's easier that way. Okay, so I want you guys to pause the video now, and you're going to record that data that's in my chart there for Mrs. Walker, Ainsley, Adeline, Allie, Duncan, Sean, and Nikki in the table. So pause the video, do that, and then it should match mine. Okay, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. Here we go. All right, so now we're going to record the data for all the hand spans in our class. So again, we can't walk around to every single person. So I have created for you a list. Okay, and here's a list of our class. So what you're going to do now is you're going to start at that top of that list and you would say, Anna. Anna has a 3-inch hand span. So you would go do a tally mark for Anna. Put a check mark next to Anna's name so you don't record that data twice on accident. Okay, then you would go to Caleb for 4 inches. Put a tally mark. Check mark next to Caleb's name. Charlotte is 4 inches, so put a tally under 4 inches and check off Charlotte's name. And you would do that all the way until you get to the very bottom with Williams. Okay, so pause the video. You're going to record the data using the tally marks on your table. If you don't have this recording sheet, just draw out one that's super quick that just has those 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and 8 inches. So you can see it right there. Okay, and then you would put your tally marks next to those. Okay, and then you would answer those. Oh, we don't have to answer the questions yet. So pause the video, record the data from our chart into our tally table, and then click play when you're ready to go over it together. All right, friends, pause if you need more time. Okay, so here's what I came up with. There were 5 people for 3 inches, 6 people for 4 inches, 4 people that had 5-inch hand spans, 3 people that had 6-inch hand spans, 3 people that had 7-inch hand spans, and 1 person that had an 8-inch hand span. Now, you don't have to write these numbers in on the side like I did. However, I think it's so much easier, friends, to be able to answer questions once you have done your tally table and then write the number next to it. Because then I don't have to keep counting those tallies when I'm answering several questions. I can just look and say, oh, I did 5 tallies. There's 5 things right there. So I would write that number 5. Okay, so to me, that's a much easier strategy to be able to look at your data once you've recorded it. So now I want us to look at the question that says, what handspan length is the most common? So that means which one had the most people that had that handspan? Yeah, it's 4 inches because 6 people, that was the highest number. 6 people had a 4-inch handspan. Now, what about the handspan length? Which one is the least common? Which one is the least common? Yeah, it's 8 inches because only one person had an 8-inch hand span. All right, so we're going to write a comparison question about the class. Okay, so this is underneath on your recording sheet. It's underneath your least common. I just don't have a picture of it here for you. But we're going to come up with our own comparison question. Here's an example. Okay, so it says, how many more students' hand spans measured 5 inches than measured 8 inches? Okay, so that's an example of one because I'm comparing the people who had 5 inches, which is 4 people, to the people who had 8 inches, which is 1. So then I would solve that by saying 4 minus 1 equals 3. So 3 more people had a 5-inch hand span than an 8-inch hand span. Okay, so you're going to pause the video, you're going to come up with your own comparison question, and then click play when you're ready for the next step. All right, friends, so look, you're going to add that to, your problem 2 in your recording sheet. Okay. All right, so good job with that, friends. Here is a copy of your problem set if you need to look at that, if you don't have a copy. Otherwise, you guys rock. Great job collecting and recording measurement data. Please head back on over to the module to see what you need to complete for your independent practice. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye, friends!